Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
Hello there, very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline. Before we start today, I thought I'd show you a little bit of a video that we made. I'll introduce you my guest as well. He's Dr. Hemakumara Nanayakkara, who knows a thing or two about agriculture actually, and he's also the leader of his own party. We'll ask him that when we come to the segment. But let's take a look at this video, shall we? And yes, so very good evening to you, Dr. Hemakumara Nanayakkara. You're the senior leader of the Maubima Janata Party.
That's right. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming.
Welcome.
There's a drought, it says, and we went to the Manning Market and had a look and so on. It's quite pathetic, really. But Mr. P.S. who's the chairman of the Manning Market Traders Association,
right?
He sort of said that whilst acknowledging the drought and so on, he made an interesting point. He said that people simply don't have the money to buy whatever is there. He said people who are buying a kilo before now buying 250 grams, and that seems to be the problem. But perhaps, Dr. Hemakumara, you could tell me why we have the drought in the first place.
That's a very interesting question. We have been talking about this El Nino action and El Nino effect. Near the equator, when, especially in the Pacific Ocean and sometimes in other areas also, when the ocean waters get heated, with the trade winds, it gets pushed towards the west from the eastern side. And due to this action, it's a process which needs a lot of time to explain. Briefly, I would say, due to this, there could be droughts, there could be floods, there could be increase of temperatures, there could be decrease of temperatures and having a cooler microclimate. All these things, different things can spring up. And this can happen once in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, like that. It's a natural phenomenon. But the important thing is whether we knew about this El Nino problem well in advance, if we knew what actions the government took to curtail the ill effects of that.
What actions could they have taken?
I think these predictions come well in advance from meteorological department and other climatological people who study climatology. The action is, now India and couple of other countries have stopped exportation of grain and other food items because they have to first feed their countrymen. But have we thought of a thing like that? Did we increase the production during the past maybe 1 year or 1.5 years or whatever before this El Nino thing came into operation? I don't see anything. Probably the authorities wouldn't have informed, or authorities would have informed, but yet the government has not taken proper action on that. Maybe either of that.
But 1.5 years ago, there was this terrible after effects of the flawed decision to go to move to an all organic farming community. That itself was a grave flaw, wasn't it?
That was a very big mistake. I think that's the biggest mistake made by the Gotabaya Rajapaksa government. I think you and I have discussed this twice.
Before, yes.
Yeah. And it's an impractical thing to go into 100% organic agriculture within one khanna or within a period of 3 months. I don't know who advised him, but yet for all he ruined the economy, country, and finally that catalyzed his sort of moving out of his position, also giving up his presidency and going, because people were so angry and hungry. And that, I think, led to his leaving of his place as the seat as the president also.
Do you think that also, just to touch on that, do you think that because there was no money, he was roped into this whole idea of moving in towards this organic thing, because then you could save, what, $300 or $400 million?
I think it was not that. There was a medical doctor.
Right.
There was a Buddhist monk.
Right.
There was a veterinary surgeon. These were the people who were advising him about agriculture.
So would you call that his obstinacy then?
He was gullible. He was really gullible, and he didn't know what he was doing. At least he listened to his older brother Mahinda Rajapaksa, who had much more experience than him in politics, he wouldn't have faced this kind of a disaster.
Well, what's done is done, and he is now being, kept in previous presidential comfort, paid for by the people, the very people who clearly suffered and perhaps even voted him in. So I suppose you pay for your choices. But back to this current drought. A lot of people I see in the WhatsApp groups and so on saying, why can't we store water? Why can't we have more reservoirs and so on? How plausible is that sort of thought?
We should have more reservoirs, but yet for all, even the reservoirs that we do have cannot be filled with the rainwater that we get. For this, number one is we have to have proper watershed management. And also we have to identify the places where the water is leaking from the main canals, secondaries, tertiaries, like that. I don't know whether this kind of studies have been done about these things. Now, for an example, if I may say, Gamal Abdul Nasser Hussein, when he was the leader of Egypt, he built this high Aswan Dam. They did a mistake by building it on a feldspar rock bed, and it started leaking water. But immediately they rectified it. We did something like that at Samanala Vava. After building Samanala Vava for power generation, there was a leak and we were able to rectify. Now, a lot of water is getting leaked from various places. I won't say in massive volumes, but yet for all it's happening. And if we don't have enough water at a time like this, we should have our other alternatives. If I may say, long time ago, towards the end of 1950s, Dr. S.A. Wickramasinghe, he was the MP for Akurasa and leader of Sri Lanka Communist Party. He suggested the diversion of Nilwala. Thereafter, in 1970s, Nanda Ellavala, who was the MP for Ratnapura, he suggested a diversion scheme of Kaluganga towards the dry zone, southern dry zone, Hambantota or Udawalawe, that side. And Amarasiri Durangota, thereafter in 1980s, he was talking about diverting Ginganga, which is going through Goa. But none of these things happen. I think it is the time for the rulers of this country now to think about alternatives. If one scheme is going to fail, they should have a backup by having another scheme to fill the waters to these big reservoirs or rivers.
That's what we should be doing.
I think we should do that. And also, the crop loss is going to be 42%.
That's a big whack.
Massive amount. 42%, and 1.2 million people will be affected due to this.
But when you say 1.2 million affected by what? By directly working in the...
Farmers, their families, and traders, the other related fields like, say, maybe vendors, all that, and even the agrochemical suppliers, because with the farmers are poor, they will not buy the required inputs. So rice, vegetables, legume crops, fruit crops, plantation crops, spice crops, all these crops will be affected. Not only that, even livestock production. For livestock production, the feed is made out of plant material. It could be corn, it could be soybean, it could be rice bran or whatever.
Yeah.
When we don't have these products in the market or in hand, how can we produce animal feed? Then milk, meat, egg production will be affected. Not only that, another unseen thing is with El Nino action, migration of fish take place from the usual habitats to different areas. Then our fishing industry will be adversely affected. So all these things will boil down to one point, that is scarcity of food.
And that's it really.
Yeah.
And then what will happen? We will have to import.
We'll have to import.
We need dollars.
Do we have dollars? That's another question.
Right.
Did we think about this well in advance? No, I don't think we thought about it.
But what's the point, Dr. Hemakumara, of having intelligent, qualified, experienced hands at, say, the Department of Agriculture, and I know that there are such people. There are tremendous amount of people with that kind of background. But what's the point? Because they seem to be shut down by the ministers.
At times it happens because some of the ministers are not competent at all. And some of the ministers do not have even the basic education. So they can't really grasp or understand what these educated officials tell them. As you very correctly said, some ministers try to shut them down when they come out with a good proposal or whatever.
I see. So there's no quick answer. We're going to have to suffer this one out.
I think we'll have to look at conservation of water. Otherwise, drinking water also would be a problem. I made a small formula for this. When I was studying in California State University, Fresno, there was a terrible drought there. And during that time, one person came out with an idea of keeping a brick wrapped in an aluminum foil in the cistern of your washroom, with which you can save. And I gave a little thought to this. I thought if we can keep 2 500 milliliter bottles, empty bottles, water bottles filled with earth or maybe sand or whatever inside the cistern, you save 1 liter of water with one flush. And generally one person has to flush the toilet at least 10 times a day. There are 4 people in the house, 40 times of flushing. So if we save 1 liter in every flush, we can save 40 liters. We'll take 10 million households. 40 million liters of water we are going to save. Now, as you know, in other countries, developed countries, England, America and all that, drinking water faucet is only placed in the pantry of the house. Rest of the water for gardening, for car, to wash the car, other things, it's recycled water. But here, watering the plants, washing the cars, service stations, for every industry, everything, we are taking chlorinated, treated, good drinking water. Aren't we? Are we mad to do this kind of things? Or the authorities, are they thinking about these things? I think it's high time for conservation. Another way of conserving water is to grow trees in dry zone areas. But these trees should be trees should produce fruits, which could be taken as food, like jack and breadfruit, any fruit crop and all that, so that this kind of tree crops will not allow the people to go hungry. There will be enough and more produce.
Indeed. Let's go for a quick break, Dr. Hemakumara, and take a peek at this evening's headline news. And we'll be right back after that message from the Primetime News team. We'll see you on the other side of the break, shall we?
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
Professionals make their way to the President's office seeking a meeting. President's office says no meeting today. Over 9,300 professionals migrated within the past 7 months. Brain drain negatively impacts export industries. Ashu Marasinghe blames political force for migration. UNICEF says that 85% of grade 3 children in Sri Lanka poor in literacy and numeracy. Arid weather conditions affect 15 districts. Water Board says that water bodies have dried up to 50%. Wildlife officials perform surgery on Agbo the tusker.
Hi guys! See you at the Thomian Fun Fair on the 18th of August. We'll see you this Friday at the St. Thomas's College ground for the Thomian Fun Fair. Let's have a lot of fun. See you.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And welcome back to Newsline. Let's revisit the Manning Market, where we were speaking to its chairman, Mr. Pirsena. I've just come across the chairman of the Manning Market here, Mr. H.M. Upasena. Upasena මාත්‍යා මේ මට කියන්නකෝ මොකද්ද දැන් තත්ත්වේ අපි මේ Manning Market එක සම්පූර්ණ බැලුවම බිස්නස් එක අඩු වෙලාද තියෙන්නේ?
මේකට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඇත්තටම පළවෙනි කාරණාව තමයි මේ ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව අනුව කියනවා ක්‍රය ශක්තිය කියලා. ඒ ක්‍රය ශක්තිය කියන්නේ මිලදී ගැනීමේ හැකියාව. මට වුවමනා දැන් මෙතන තියෙන බණ්ඩක්ක ටික මට වුවමනා වුණාට මගේ අතේ සල්ලි නැත්තම් මේ බණ්ඩක්ක ටිකට සඵල මිලක් හම්බ වෙන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා දැන් ඇත්තටම සමස්ත ජනයා අතට එන මුදලේ හිගය නිසා මේ අයට මේ වෙළඳාම් මේක වෙළඳාමට ගොඩාක් බලපාලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ සමස්ත ජනයා අතරට එකතු වේ යුතු මුදල් සාක්කුවට එන්නේ නැහැ. අපි හිතමු 50000ක පඩියක් ගන්නවා නම් එයා ලයිට් බිල ගෙවලා, වතුර බිල ගෙවලා, දරුවන්ගේ ඉස්කෝල වැඩ කටයුතු කරාම සමානලා නොකානොබී ඉන්න තත්යකට දැන් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒක දැන් සාමාන්‍ය ක්‍රමවේදය ඒකයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අපි දැනුවත්ව සමබර ආහාර වේලක් ගැන කතා කරනෝනේ. දැන් මිනිසුන්ට සමබර ආහාර වේල කියලා කතා කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. දැන් ඒවලට හම්බුනේ මොනවද? පොල් සම්බෝලයි ඉන්දියාප්පයි හරි කාලා බඩ පුරවන ගතිය විතරයි. දැන් වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් කිව්වට සම්බර ආහාර වේලක් ගන්න කියලා මොනම විදියකට මේ ආර්ථික රටාව තුළ අපිට පේන හැටියට මේ වෙළඳපොලේ තියෙන වෙළඳාමත් ස්වභාවයත් එක්ක බලපුවම එහෙම සමබර මට්ටමක් ගන්න පුළුවන් කමක් ඇත්තේම නැහැ. ඒක ඉදිරියට තවත් බලපායි කියලා අපි හිතනවා.
අන්තිමට ඔයා කියන්නේ මහ ජනතාවට සල්ලි නැහැ.
උදල්ලේ නැහැ. දැන් අපි නිකමට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කල්පනා කරනොත් වතුර බිලට රුපියල් 3000කට ආපු වතුර බිල 6000 7000 වෙලා තියෙනවා. රුපියල් 2000ට ආපු විදුලි බිල රුපියල් 8000 10000 වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ තියෙන මුදල් ටික කළමනාකරණය කරන්න වෙන්නේ බඩෙන් අයින් කළා තමයි කරන්නේ. මොකද ළමයා ඉස්කෝලේ යන ළමයාගේ පොතෙන් අයින් කරන්නද? වෙන මොකක්වත් ගමන බිමන කෙන එකෙන් අයින් කරන්නද? අයින් කරන්න පුළුවන් එකම තැන තියෙන්නේ බඩට කණ එකෙන් විතරයි අයින් කරන්නේ. බඩට කණ එකෙන් අයින් කරනකොට තමයි මේ පේන්නේ අපිට මේ පේන ධාරිතාව වෙනදාට මේ වෙලාව හිස් අපි. මේක ගෙනියන්න මිනිසුන්ට ශක්තිය නැහැ. ගෙනිය ගන්න ක්‍රමවේදයක් නැහැ.
උදේ පාන්දර මේ තැන ඔක්කොම බිසි මේ වෙලාවට දැන් හිස්.
මේක උදේ 8 වෙනකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් හිස් වෙන මාකට් එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ තියෙන ඍජු ගොවියා සම්බන්ධ වෙන එකම වෙන්දේසි පොළ මේක.
දැන් වෙලාව මම ෆිල්ම් කරන්නේ උදේ 11:20ට දැන්. නමුත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා කට්ටිය.
100ට සාමාන්‍ය ප්‍රමාණයෙන් දැනටත් 120ක විතර එළවලු ප්‍රමාණයක් අද ලැබිච්ච එළවලු වලින් 120ක විතර දැනටත් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් දැන් මේක දැන් දවල් වෙනකොට ඇත්තටම කනගාටුදායක කාරණාවක් වෙනවා. උදේ එළවලු ගෙනියන්න ආපු කෙනා සමහර වෙලාවට ගෙනිහිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ රුපියල් 100ට ගෙනියපු එක දැන් මේ වෙනකොට 40ට 50ට විකුණන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ මනුස්සයාට සමහරලාට ප්‍රවෘත්තියක් නිර්මාණය වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අන්න අද මැනින් වෙළඳපොලේ එළවලු විල බහලා. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් 11:20ට. නමුත් උදේ පාන්දර 4ට එළවලු ගෙනිච්ච කෙනා අරගාන්ට ගෙනිහිල්ලා ඇත්තටම එයා විකුණනට දොස් නගනවා. ඇයි මේ තරම් වැඩි මිලකට විකුණන්නේ කියලා. නමුත් අපට වෙලා තියෙන වැඩේ මේ ගෙනාපු එක මේක සොහොන් පිටියක් වගේ තමයි. ගෙනාපු මිනිහා අනිවාර්යෙන් වලේ දාන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඒකේ මිනිහේ වලේ දාන ක්‍රමවේදය ගැන හිතන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ඉවර කරන්න විතරයි අපි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. එතකොට ඒකේ අඩුවීම ඇත්තටම අර උදෑසන එළවලු මිලදී ගත්ත කෙනාට ලොකු බලපෑමක් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
දැන් ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් කලින් මෙතෙන්ට ඇවිල්ලා කීලෝ එක ගන්න එක්කෙනා දැන් 250ට තමයි ගන්නෙ.
250ට ගැනිල්ල එකක්. ඊළඟට අපි හොඳ තැනක ඉස්සෙල්ලා හිටියේ. කෝච්චියෙන් බහැපු ඔෆිස් එකෙන් යන එක්කෙනත් බස් එකේ ගියේ එක්කෙනත් ඕනෑම ප්‍රමාණයක් ගෙනියන්න එතෙන්ද සිල්ලර වෙළඳපොළ රේනවා. ඇත්තටම මේ වෙළඳපොලේ මේ ගේට්ටු දෙකෙන් එළියට එළවලු ටිකක් ගියාම ඇත්තටම මිල වැඩි වෙන්න වෙනවා. වැඩි වෙන හේතුව.
Well, there you go. You heard what he had to say.
Right.
That's true, isn't it? People really just don't have the money.
People have a big problem with buying, money. They don't have the buying power. Things are very expensive. But there's another segment where lots and lots of money. I don't know whether they pay taxes or not. When you go to restaurants in Colombo or when you pass restaurants, you see it's all packed, jam-packed.
Yes, you definitely need a reservation.
Yeah. And there's a big gap between the haves and have-nots, which is a dangerous situation.
And if it goes like this, according to the chairman of that of the Manning Market, Mr. Upasena, he predicts that the prices could actually skyrocket. They're already high.
Yeah, when the supply is not enough, the prices will go up. Now with the drought, the production will drop by 42%, then the prices will definitely go up. For this, we'll have to have the areas where you get rains, at least we have to pull up our socks and sort of start cultivation in a big way. It's not happening at the moment.
But there's the land rules, I think 82%, including the forest cover and so on, of land is owned by the government. How easy is it for people to get hold of vast chunks of land to have large-scale farming?
Now, whatever the lands that is there in the hands of the private sector, I don't know whether they are being fully utilized. I don't think so. Even these plantation companies, if you take, all the lands belong to the government and the lands have been given on long leases. But if you see big patches of barren land on these estates, they're not cultivating. Even the other cultivators, though the inputs could be bought, inputs are expensive. And I think if we were thinking of a food drive, we should have brought down the costs, the prices of the inputs like fertilizer, agrochemicals, seed and planting material. We should have brought down all that. I want to make an interesting observation about Israel. They have been experiencing droughts one after another. They started domesticating desert plants. And they brought these plants like cacti and other things, and they started using the mucilage of that for food production. Even the dragon fruit that you and I eat is coming from a cactus. So plant breeding is another facet in this. We have to breed drought-tolerant, heat-tolerant plants. Of course, the varieties that we had during olden days were drought-tolerant plants, vegetables, fruits, all that. Now we have gone for all hybrids. I won't say not to go for hybrids. We can have hybrids, but we must have the genetic makeup of the drought-tolerant, pest tolerance and tolerance to other diseases and all that. That is the job of the plant breeder. Now the Department of Agriculture, I do not know. There are a lot of educated, enthusiastic officials and research personnel, but I don't know whether things are happening in the department.
Let's return back to the Manning Market, where we had an interesting conversation with another two people. Go on then. And as Newsline continues to be at the Manning Market today, this morning, we made this recording this morning, I've just met Asoka, who is selling ice creams. I thought I'd ask him what his business is looking like. He's got all the cones and so on. අයිබෝන් අශෝක මේ කොහොමද ඔයාගේ මේ බිස්නස් එකේ තත්ත්වය?
බිස්නස් එක නම් සර් ගොඩක් අඩුයි. බොහොම අමාරුවෙන් තමයි ඉතින් යන්නේ.
බොහොම අමාරුයි.
ඔව්.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයා මේ අයිස්ක්‍රීම් ලීටර් කීයක් විතර විකුණනවද දවසට?
ලීටර් 4.2ක් තමයි ගේන්නේ.
4.2ක්.
කලින් තිබිච්ච බිස්නස් එක ගොඩක් අඩු වෙලා.
ඕකේ.
දැන් මේ මාකට් එකට ආවම තමයි ටිකක් හරි වෙළඳාම තියෙන්නේ. නැත්නම් පාරේ ගියාට එච්චර වෙළඳාමක් නැහැ සර්.
දැන් මේ ඔයාගේ ලීටර් 4.2ක් ඔයා විකුණනවද?
ඔව් සමහරක් වෙලාවට විකුණනවා සමහරක් වෙලාවට ඉතුරු වෙලත් යනවා.
එහෙනම් ඒක හානියක් ඔයාට.
ඔව්.
ලොස් එකක්.
ලොස් එකක්.
දැන් මේ කෝණයක් කීයද මේක?
මේක 60යි සර් විකුණන්නේ.
එකක් 60යි.
ඔව්.
හරි. දැන් ටීවී එකේ පේන්න අපිට කන්න බෑ. මම මේක ඉවරුනාම මම කන්නන්නේ.
හරි.
හරි අශෝකගේ ගම කොහෙද?
මම වෙල්ලම්පිටියේ සර්.
වෙල්ලම්පිටියේ. ඒක මෙහෙන් ළඟයිනේ.
ඔව් ඔව්.
හා. ඔයා කොහොමද බයිසිකල් එකේ පැදලා එන්නේ?
ඔව් පැදලා එන්නේ.
අර කොටුවේ තියෙනකොට මේක ඒක මීට වඩා හොඳයිද?
හොඳයි. මේට වඩා ගොඩක් හොඳයි කොටුවේ තියෙනකොට.
ඒ කියන්නේ මිනිස්සු හිටියා ඉන්නේ.
ඔව් මිනිස්සු හිටියා.
හරි. අශෝකත් බොහොම ස්තුතියි. Thank you. That was Ashoka. Well, there you go. Another tale of war.
Right.
It looks like they've gone and put this center in the wrong place. So they spent millions and millions of rupees.
That's right. At that time, the people who decided on changing this venue were talking about a spacious place and to make things more methodical. I don't know whether that happened or not, but when the feedback comes from the people who are working there or being occupied there, they say it's not.
I heard the same Ashoka story. I heard it from lots of other people.
Right. So it must be true that they don't have enough business there at the new place.
Indeed. So, bottom line is now we've got this drought. So, what we need some serious work to address the impending gloom and doom. 42%.
The crop loss.
Crop loss. That's not a small amount.
It is rather high, and I think we are going to face a difficult situation. Number one thing, but I would say we must not panic. But we must do whatever we could do, even in our own home gardens. We should grow some vegetables, we should grow some fruit. But I don't think people are doing it. They are not doing it. They are not motivated. Earlier in this country, being schoolboys, we remember during Mr. Ayamare Iriyagolla's period, when he was the Minister of Education, there was a Vaga Vyapara. And there were songs for that. Loken Nutum Rata Lanka, that kind of songs. And we went for Vedahuruvima. Like that, then thereafter also there were a couple of food drives like that. But there is no proper organized grow more food campaign in this country. I think it's high time that we state-sponsored thing, getting the private sector fully involved. But recently I saw that some committee has been formed with some top people in the private sector to sort of induce crop production. But these things should really happen. I think there's a massive role that could be played by the Department of Agriculture. But they are not given a free hand to do that.
Well, that's the point. They need to, you need to give them security of tenure, and you need to recognize their potential.
Right.
And I think it's very important to, you probably agree, meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty. MPH. We need that.
Yeah, we do.
Dr. Hemakumara Nanayakkara, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Sakali.
And that's the way it was on Newsline today. Take care. Have a great evening as much as you can. And God bless you all. It's time for the plan.